Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. John's trying to tell me something. Oh, higher. Is that better? How's that? Can you hear me? How's that? There you go. Better? Okay, sorry. It's my height along with other things. Who knows? But anyway, good morning to all of you. It's great to be here this morning with you. Oh, there we go. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers where we strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. Welcome to those of you seeking comfort. Welcome to those of you seeking hope. Welcome to those of you seeking resilience. Welcome to you, whoever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, whoever you are becoming in this moment. You are welcome here into this community. It is good to be together. My name is Deb Karoff, and I'm the worship associate today. My pronouns are she, her. Reverend Julia is en route to Japan to be part of a walking pilgrimage, and we send our good wishes to her. She's literally, I think, on a plane at the moment. This morning, I am creating worship with the Chumash Outreach Group, which I will talk about shortly, and we are really happy to have welcome Alan Salazar to the Unitarian Society today. I will tell you more about him momentarily. Pianist Heather Levin and the Summer Singers will be providing us with music, along with the drummers. Matthew's out today. If you're visiting with us, we would love to get to know you better, answer any questions you might have about our congregation and what we're up to. We have a lot going on often. Please stop by our visitor table to learn about who we are or click the visitor button online if you're watching that today. Before I make a few announcements, I'm excited to introduce Alan Salazar, who is visiting with us. Alan, would you come up? Alan is a tribal elder with the Fernandino Tataviam Band of Mission Indians. He is a traditional storyteller, an indigenous educator, an indigenous monitor consultant, a spiritual advisor, a traditional paddler and builder of Chumash canoes, also known as tomols. Alan is a writer as well and is a published author of 4 Native American storybooks. You can see them in the... There are more of them if you would like to purchase one in Parish Hall after the service. Alan's family members are Venturino Chumash and Fernandino Tataviam. Alan's ancestors were brought into the San Fernando Mission starting in 1799. He actively protects his ancestors' village sites and tribal territories as a monitor and cultural resources advisor. Alan is also a founding member of the Chumash Maritime Association, and he is actively involved with several other Native American groups. As a member of the Chumash Maritime Association, he helped build the first working traditional Chumash plank canoe in modern times, and he has paddled this plank canoe for over 27 years. He's currently overseeing the construction of 2 tomols for the Ventura Chumash community, and it has been over 180 years since Chumash tomols have been built in Ventura. For Alan, sharing tribal stories and mentoring the next generation of storytellers is one of the most important goals as a tribal elder. He has devoted most of his adult life to working with young people. Alan's life experiences have exposed him to many different cultures and peoples. He was raised to be proud of his Native American heritage, and he takes great pride in being a positive role model and a respected elder. We are so glad that you are here with us today, Alan. Thank you. I'm going to make some up. You can go through that. Thank you. I have 3 announcements to make. One is that the monthly Vespers service is on Tuesday, October 7th at 6:15. The doors open at 6. It takes place here in the sanctuary. And Charla and several of our RE families are enjoying the annual RE Fall Campout at Lake Lopez this weekend. So I don't think we have any children here today. However, if there are children here today, Sydney is in the back, and she will take the kids to Star King, following the story that Alan would read. Our next adult RE Lunch and Learn workshop is next Sunday, October 5th, from 12 to 2 in Blake Lounge. It's entitled Homelessness, What Can We Do? This workshop will be facilitated by Chuck Flax with special guest Wayne Mellinger and Melinda Masonette. The sign-up link is in your Friday email that we just got on Friday, or you can sign up at the RE table in the garden after the service. Okay, now settle in, take a deep breath, allow yourself to land fully in your body and in this moment as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us. Chalice lighting is next, and I have a poem that is written by a woman named Ophelia Cepeda. And Ophelia Cepeda is a member of the Thum Nation of southwestern Arizona. The name of the poem is Carrying Our Words. We travel carrying our words. We arrive at the ocean. With our words, we are able to speak of the sounds of thunderous waves. We speak of how majestic it is, of the ocean power that gifts us songs. We sing of our respect and call it our relative. Every week, as you may know, we talk about one good thing in the world. And I recently read a post from Robert Reich that is really good for the families in the state of New Mexico. Starting November 1st, New Mexico will become the first state to offer universal child care for every family who lives in the state. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. It's expected to save families more than $12,000 per child per year. It's a huge, huge benefit. And it's a huge step forward and a real model for ways to think about families and how best to support them. Reich says, it's a reminder that we have the power to fix the system. I'm not so sure about that, but I'll go with it. Today I'll go with that thought. Okay, we're going to now sing our first song. The summer singers would come up, and it's in number 318 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on the screen. It's called We Would Be One. Thank you. I forgot to prompt you all to stand up. Thanks, Tim, for reminding everyone to rise if they can. Alan is now going to tell us one of his stories. If there are any children here today, they can stay seated. They do not have to come up. I don't even know if I see any children. But I think all of us can benefit from a story from Alan, so he will now come on up and tell us one. Thank you.
Aku, aku. Sound okay? I was told the story was for the young people, and I was sharing with the people back there that I think that's anyone under the age of 70. To me, that's young. But I'm going to share a story today from the book that my wife and I have most recently done, Shumash Stories. It's the first story in the book, and it was put in the beginning of the book because it's a creation story, in my humble opinion. It's actually 3 short stories that were told by a Shumash elder from Santa Ynez, Maria Solares, and I combined the 3 short stories and make them all one. So the Shumash, we believe there's 3 levels to the world. There's the upper world where the sky people live, the middle world where we are at, and an underworld. The middle world is like a big island to the Shumash. It's held up by 2 giant snakes. When the snakes get restless and move around and reposition themselves, that's what causes the earthquakes. I know some of you thought that earthquakes were caused by Shaquille O'Neal doing jumping jacks. Anyway, in the underworld, there's supernatural, scary things. And as a storyteller, I always enjoy telling kids, we would say that the Nunasashas were in the underworld, and when it got dark, they could leave the underworld and come into the middle world. So we wanted to make sure all of our children got home before it got dark, because if we were our village and we were living here 1,000 years ago, we would have been outnumbered in these mountains and foothills around us by bears, mountain lions, and wolves. So it was very important to get our kids home before it got dark. If we had to scare them a little bit, we scared them a little bit. But thousands and thousands of years ago, there were no people in the middle world. It was the sky people, sky coyote, sky eagle, the sun, the moon, morning star, and the sky snake that got together to decide what the Chumash people would look like. Lizard happened to be up in the upper world that day, and he was listening to this discussion that was mostly between coyote and eagle. Coyote and eagle argued about everything of how the Chumash people should look. Coyote, being a little bit full of himself, wanted us to look like him. He wanted us to have the furry ears, a long pointy nose with a little black tip. Coyotes, they have yellow eyes. He wanted all the Chumash people to have yellow eyes. Well, it took several days and several nights of arguing and discussing to decide what we would look like. And Coyote was very upset that the Chumash people were not going to look like him. But they were going to let Coyote have one thing, and that was paws as hands. That the Chumash people would have paws as hands. And since that was the final thing, Sky Eagle told Sky Coyote, put your paw print in the sacred stone. So much like these drums, there's a special stone in the upper world. It's a perfect circle, perfectly smooth and flat. What's unique and special about this stone is if you leave your paw print or handprint in that stone, it will stay there forever. So Sky Eagle told Sky Coyote, put your paw print in the sacred stone. But when you do, the Chumash people will have paws for hands forever. Well, Coyote is very proud. He's bringing that paw down very slowly, and he's almost ready to put that paw print in that stone. And he forgot about Lizard, who'd been sitting quietly, just listening. And the Lizard ran between Coyote's legs and ran and put his handprint in that stone. And when the other sky people came to look at the handprint of the Lizard, they liked that much better. And the Chumash people say that's how we got hands like Lizard instead of paws like Coyote. And like I said, I tell that story almost everywhere I go. because it explains our view of the world, the upper world, the middle world, the underworld. That many religions, many cultures have similar beliefs, they just have different names for them. Our Nunasashas in the underworld were very scary beings, a 70-foot tall man that when he just inhaled, he could swallow everyone in this room. An old man that carried a basket full of hot boiling oil, and if he caught any kids out at night, he would throw them in the hot boiling oil. But in today's world, there's even scarier things. There's Fox News reporters, I think, and other things in the underworld. But it gives you our view of the world. If there's any Republicans out there, I truly am not sorry. Which will be the theme of what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. I'm going to share with you what I know and what I've learned. It's my view of the world from a tribal perspective, and I will share more of my tribal beliefs with you later, and I thoroughly look forward to it. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I want to thank you, to everyone here and to all of you for allowing me to come to share our stories. It's very important to hear Chumash stories from Chumash people. Thank you.
I guess, are there any children here to sing out? I don't see a child anywhere. Okay, we're going to skip the singing. But talk a little bit about how this service sort of got created and tell you a little bit about a group that I'm a member of. It's called, lately, this is the beginning of my reflection, which goes, lately I've been thinking about the phrase from Clarissa Pinkola Estes that many of you may have heard, mend the part of the world that is within your reach. I find it hard to keep my mind and heart grounded in the world these days. One of the ways I try to keep my balance is to focus on what I can do rather than on what I cannot do. I focus on things which are local in the place and community in which I live, in the hopes that my energy, compassion, and time can do something good in the world. Today, I want to tell you the story about the Chumash Outreach Group, which is a group in this congregation, and I'm a member of it. About 3 years ago, the Board of Trustees established a group called the Indigenous Reparations Committee. The board established the Indigenous Reparations Committee with the purpose of learning about and deepening our understanding of the local Chumash culture by developing relationships of support and understanding. The board allocated $20,000 from a large donation to the committee to support local projects and activities in the Chumash community. The board also created a mechanism to add money to the fund when undesignated bequests are donated in the future. The source of this funding was property that was donated to USSB in the late 1970s by the Northman Trust. Many of the lay leaders at USSB have been involved in ensuring that the bequest from the Northman family would provide long-term benefits to the congregation, and we appreciate their collective efforts over many, many years. It is quite remarkable that USSB was one of the 4 beneficiaries of this significant bequest. As a side note, the other 3 beneficiaries were the Natural History Museum, the Botanic Gardens, and Star King Ministry. By creating the committee, the Board of Trustees wanted to connect the inheritance of the property to the fact that our buildings sit on land formerly occupied by the Chumash people. The important piece about this formation of the committee is that there is a through line about unceded land and a bequest of other unceded land to our congregation. I find this action by the board quite remarkable. The creation of the Indigenous Reparations Committee is both a statement and a financial commitment that speaks directly to our values, in particular the goal that says inspiring action. We define this by saying that we shift the larger culture towards justice and compassion through bold individual and congregational endeavors, and that we welcome and connect with people across differences of identity and lived experience. The Indigenous Reparations Committee is an example of aspiring action. As I've said, the original name of our group was the Indigenous Reparations Committee, and our initial intention was to use some of the resources we had as a congregation to offer reparations to the Chumash community, a kind of healing and repair, if you will. We fully understood that we could not possibly undo the enormous harm that had been done to the Chumash people due to colonization, the taking of land, and the erasure of Chumash culture. As the group evolved, we realized that our work was more about outreach and connection, and less about reparations in the traditional definition of the word. And we decided to change our name to the Chumash Outreach Group. We did that about a year ago. In the process of building relationships, we've offered funds, food, and time to local Indigenous activities and events. We've been meeting regularly with local Chumash leaders. We've hosted one film and sponsored another. Last summer, Last summer, we provided funds, food, and a place to sleep for Indigenous runners who were part of the Peace and Dignity Journey, a prayer run from Alaska to Colombia. We helped provide food for a community potluck on that day. And in the evening, there were 25 people sleeping in various rooms and in the courtyard on the lower level of our campus. It was quite a scene. And I am delighted to announce that we recently contributed $5,000 to the Tomol project that Alan will describe in a few minutes. Going forward, we intend to work with the Bridge to the Future team to ensure that a physical recognition or representation of the coastal Chumash community is included in the building plans. We welcome any of you to this work, and if you're interested, just let me or committee members know. The members of the group are sitting, many of them are sitting behind me: Judy Ferris, Kate Mead, Craig Woodman, Annalise Zwicky, Justine Sutton, Nancy Edmondson, and Reverend Julia. I'd like now to invite Annalie and Craig up to the chancel to speak a few words to you as well.
I'm Annalise Zwicky, and I'm going to apologize for this chronic cough that I have. Not sick, just a nagging cough. So the mission of the Chumash Outreach Group, we acknowledge that USSB sits on ancestral land of the Chumash people. Our mission is to support, with our presence and financial resources, Chumash culture, social, and educational projects. We seek opportunities to engage with local Chumash leaders and individuals to deepen our understanding of Chumash culture, history, and present life. Our intention is to strengthen connection and to build relationships of care between our congregation, Chumash groups, and the wider Santa Barbara community. Craig will now speak as to why this work is important to him.
Good morning. The land, this earth, has always been a spiritual place for me. And I saw my work as a professional archaeologist and an environmental consultant as a way of protecting the sacred land and as a way of honoring those who came before me, especially Native Americans. The Chumash and their ancestors lived on this land for thousands of years, and their and built a complex society that was rich, powerful, and influential. The ocean and its fish, shellfish, and marine mammals provided the economic foundation for Chumash society, and the tamal, the canoe, the plank canoe, provided the means of harvesting the ocean riches up and down the coast and onto the islands, where they occupied large villages situated to take advantage of natural resources. The tamal provided the essential connection, the lifeline, between mainland and island communities. Much of Chumash society was destroyed by colonization, but today the Chumash are reclaiming their identity and constructing new tamals and making pilgrimages to the islands as their ancestors did. I can only imagine the spiritual strength that such a pilgrimage must give. And so I'm grateful that we can support Alan Salazar in his effort to strengthen his tribal community through the construction and use of a new tamal. To me, it's a way of honoring the earth, those who came before me, and those who are here now, helping their community reconnect with the earth and their ancestral ways of life. Thank you.
What are they called? My step assist. In this moment of quiet and meditation, I want to take a moment to honor the fact that we are in the midst of the Jewish high holy days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I'm grateful that Julia recommended this poem to me. It's entitled Anew, and it's written by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. Here's the thing. The year begins anew, even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and then they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainties a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere as we may, and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is we're not in this alone. We'll help each other hope when light seems dim, and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help each other heal.
Okay, doing a sound check here. Is that good? Okay. This reflection blossomed from a question we posed to each other at a recent meeting of the Chumash Outreach Group. Why had we joined it? My response began with me describing a small basket and a little pot I made in 4th grade at Euclid Avenue School in Los Angeles. We spent several months learning about American Indians, more about culture than history, and focused on the Southwest. But very simply, I just loved everything I learned. I loved that they made their everyday household things and clothes, that they built their homes with local materials. I loved that they played drums and sang and danced. I didn't get a clear understanding of just how much of this was in the past or what present-day reservations were like, just that they were far from where I lived. There was no suggestion that there were any such people in California. From then on, additions to my learning were a sporadic patchwork. I watched The Lone Ranger on television, even then sensing that Tonto was something of a caricature, but then so was the Ranger, and at least they were the good guys. In high school, I was dismayed to learn about forced relocations, broken treaties, and Custer's Last Stand. But it was all history, and still no mention of California. A few years on, I took a UCLA course in California history and finally learned something of local native tribes, mainly intertwined with mission history. Dismayed again, but it was still history, and I still had no knowledge of where their descendants might live. Then the advertising agency where I worked took on a new client, a dealer in Native American art who put on shows to introduce and sell Southwestern work to a wider audience in Southern California. Since she was the owner of the Capistrano Trading Post, I was expecting to see baskets and pots that would be akin to what mine had been modeled on. But the baskets and pots and paintings and jewelry and rugs she showed were not vintage pieces. They were contemporary, and some of the artists were at the shows with their work. So it wasn't all history. But I still had never lived where indigenous people and their cultures were a recognized part of the population, until we moved to the Coachella Valley, where the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians and other tribes and bands are prominent and very much recognized. And their stories are far different from those I had learned in 4th grade. Their reservation was created in the 19th century on land that had little value at the time, and the Southern Pacific Railroad had a right-way through it. That land is now downtown Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage, AKA the playground of presidents. And the band's individuals developed businesses and leased parcels on it to hotels and condo buyers. I gained a more nuanced understanding after joining the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. In 2009, we began the process to become a Green Sanctuary, a program of the Unitarian Universalist Association to guide congregations toward environmentally friendly practices and environmental justice in their communities. That led to learning about the other tribes and bands in the valley, far less advantaged than the Agua Caliente, as we did some work with them on toxic waste and contaminated water. In 2016, I moved to Santa Barbara and joined this society, and my learning picked up momentum. I started helping out at the 7th Principal Action Network table on Sundays with Cheryl Snell, and just a few months later, we were hosting a visit by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, whose book, The Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States, had been published a few years before. More dismay, but also a call for action to redress the harm. COVID slowed down things a bit, but I enrolled in an online Beloved Conversations course, which led to writing a land acknowledgement and developing a reading and viewing list that I have enjoyed checking off ever since. We've come a long way from Tonto to Dark Winds and Reservation Dogs. Soon after that, the Board of Trustees established the forerunner of the Chumash Outreach Group, and I jumped at the opportunity to learn more and do more, as Deb has described. Last year, the local Peace and Dignity Journey Coordinating Committee asked us to help facilitate the leg of the race that would come through Santa Barbara. We would help in a celebration of the runners' arrival at Ortega Park and for their overnight stay here at USSB. They had a craftsperson making small pouches as a gift to the runners and needed an additional provider. I volunteered to see if I could find someone. I couldn't, so I created a pattern and gathered materials from friends and was delighted to find I could make them myself and sewed 8 of them. Then at the celebration, there was drumming and singing, and we were invited to join in the final circle dance. My 4th grade loves had come to life. And a few days later, I received a blessing. Deb brought me a thank you from the elders on the committee in the form of a small pouch of sage. It just happens to fit in my little pot. I'm looking forward to learning more and doing more.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Annalee and Craig as well, for sharing different aspects of the kind of work we've been doing. Our affirmation, every week we give 25% of the offertory to a local organization, and this month we are supporting the local League of Women Voters. At all levels, the League is committed to empowering voters and defending democracy. The League is a nonpartisan, grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. The League empowers voters and defends democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. The Santa Barbara League was founded in 1938, just 18 years after women received the right to vote. Acknowledging that the suffrage movement did not include all women and men of color were excluded, League volunteers work furthering to further diversity, equity, and inclusion in issues of local importance, such as housing, the environment, and the criminal justice reform. Please join me in saying the affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Thank you. Hi, John. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. That was really, really wonderful to hear. Thank you so much. Okay, now we get to hear from Alan, and he's going to show a video. There is no sound to the video. He will be talking about all the pieces and things that you'll be looking at and seeing, but it's quite wonderful, and I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing from him. Thank you.
The bull roar is used to call in our spirits, our ancestors. Haku haku, Netawan Puchuk Yayak, Netawan Alan Salazar, Pasekfa Chogoyanga Tapu Nukasin. What I just said was hello, hello. I'm a fast runner. I will be accepting challenges in the courtyard after the service. I'm from the villages of Pasekfa, Chogoyanga, and Tapu. Let me explain. I get my Chumash and Taviam ancestry from my father's side of the family. This is my pop here later on in his life when he's a young man in the Marines. And everyone on these pictures here, including my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, my grandmother, my aunties and uncles, me and my brother, were all born in Pasekfa. You know it as San Fernando, California, because of that mission period where my ancestors were taken to the San Fernando mission, helped build it, and were part of the slave labor workforce for at least 3 or 4 generations. We trace back to the village of Chogoyanga, which is a Tataviam village along the Santa Clara River. Currently, Magic Mountain is built over that village site. And the village of Tapu, which is Tapu Canyon in Simi Valley. This beautiful woman right here is my mom. My mom is Portuguese and English from Hanford, California. And I realized about 30, 40 years into my journey that one thing I got from my mom was a love of tea. I hate coffee, and I drink Earl Grey every morning to honor my English ancestors. So as my mom used to say that she was a mutt or Heinz 57, if she is, so am I. But I was raised by a Marine, as I showed you the picture, and I was raised to be proud of my Indian heritage, which was the term we used back in the 50s and 60s. I grew up as a young boy in Hanford, California, where my mom is from. We moved there when I was 2. And there was a picture there at the bottom. When I'm in the courtyard over here, you can come and look at it a little bit closer. One, I was taken in 1957 when I was 6 years old, and me and my older brother wanted to get mohawk haircuts for the summer. And when I was greeting people as you were coming into the service today, it reminded me of a story that before we got our mohawk haircuts in the summer of 1957, apparently the padre at the Catholic Church in Hanford, California, where we went every Sunday for Mass, had spoken to my father about his casual attire. My pop was a plaster. He worked with these his whole life. And we had a couple acres with horses and chickens and ducks. And when we went to Mass, me, my brother, my pop, would usually wear our good Levi's, not the faded blue ones, but the nice dark blue ones, our good cowboy boots, and a nice Western shirt. And the padre had mentioned to my father at the end of Mass one Sunday that, Abel, my male parishioners usually come to Mass in a suit, or at least a nice dress shirt with a tie, and dress pants and dress shoes. And my father nodded his head and acknowledged, thanked the padre for sharing that information with him. A couple weeks later, we get our Mohawk haircuts. My pop got in the barber's chair, and the barber said, take a little off the side, turn at the back, Abe. He goes, no, give me a Mohawk. All three of the Salazar boys walked out of that barber shop with Mohawk haircuts. And when we went to Mass that Sunday, Pop said, wait before we go in. And my sister, who was a teenager by then, goes, well, Pop, we should probably go in and get our spot. When you're a minority, I don't care if it's Mass, a restaurant, definitely a bar, you want to sit in the back where you can see everybody in front of you. You want to sit close to the door in case you need to get out quickly. And that's where we usually sat, even though it was Mass in a church, which should be a safe haven. But that Sunday, Pop said, Alan, find us a spot in the front pew. And when we walked down the center pew, I was in the front, my brother behind me, both with Mohawk haircuts, my pop in the back with a Mohawk haircut. And as the Padre turned around, after blessing Jesus on the cross, he saw Abel, and Alan with Western shirts on, good blue jeans, nice cowboy boots, and Mohawk haircuts. My sister said you could see smoke coming out of the Padre's ear through the whole service. At the end of the Mass, my pop made us sit and wait till everyone left. And as the last few people started to get up to leave, he goes, let's go. We walked out, and the Padre turned his head, hoping Abe would just walk by. My father walked up to him and put his hand out. The Padre had to shake his hand. Like I said, my pop worked with these his whole life. My sister said she could see Pop squeeze the Padre's hand. He squeezed it so hard his knuckles were starting to turn white, and he pulled the Padre close to him, and he said, Padre, when I come to Mass, I come to ask for his guidance and his forgiveness, not yours. The Padre never mentioned again about our attire, and we continue to go to the Mass every Sunday. And most of my tribal members, most of my family members are still good Catholics. It's something that I believe, in my humble opinion, that tribal people, including the Chumash here, we were raised to respect tribal leaders. We were raised to respect our religious leaders. And even though it might have been a foreign religion, a strange religion, the Padres were still religious leaders. And we would try and respect them as much as we could. And there's times we didn't. But today I want to talk more about our tamals and our canoes. I'm very excited to be part of a group of dedicated volunteers in Ventura, some Chumash, some non-Chumash. The director of the Maritime Museum is volunteering with us. The co-owner of Island Packers is volunteering. Archaeologists are helping. It's truly a community event. And we're rebuilding these canoes. We have our mascot here. And a little story about the dog. He's owned by one of our young Tamal canoe builders, who I'm excited because I've put him in the front. I go, learn, and then you teach me. You tell me what to do. And he brings his dog every weekend. He was there yesterday. And we warn everybody, if you come and that dog is there, don't set your muffin down on the table. It'll be gone. But the short story of our tamals is that for thousands of years we built them to go out into the ocean to fish, to go take people from the mainland here out to the islands, from the islands back to the mainland. So they were transports, they were cargo ships, they were fishing vessels. They had many uses. We would build them in all different sizes. That's why we came up with the plank technology. Instead of getting a 40-foot log and then trying to make a 40-foot dugout canoe, if we have two 25-foot boards, we have the beginning of a 50-foot canoe. we have two 20-foot boards, we have the beginning of a 40-foot tumal. So we came up with that technology to build the plank canoes and glue and tie them together with tar and asphaltum. And during that mission period, we stopped building our canoes. And it's simple, I'm sure you have figured that out. My ancestors at San Fernando Mission, the ancestors of the Santa Barbara Ventura Mission, were the farm laborers, the ranch hands, the cooks, the maids, the blacksmiths. We were the workforce. We did not have time after working from sunrise to sunset to build canoes. Ironically, some of the last few tamals were built here at the Santa Barbara Mission and a few at the Ventura Mission. We are pretty sure the last three that were built at the Ventura Mission might have been some of the last three built. And they were built somewhere in the 1820s, we believe, and were lost at sea, out fishing to bring back fish to feed the people at the Ventura Mission. And a storm came up, and the last two tamals were lost, one at sea and one as it was trying to come ashore in a big surf and was smashed into 100 little pieces. So we're pretty sure that it's been at least 190 years, maybe more, since any traditional tamals have been built in Ventura. We've been building them here in Santa Barbara since 1997. And all of our practices, when we have practice, if you go down to the harbor in May and June and July, you will see a tamal out in the little harbor there. We're having practices getting ready for another crossing from the mainland out to Limu, Santa Cruz Island. And the Ventura community since 1997, when we started rebuilding the canoes, and we built Eloyun, which is a 24-foot tamal. She's still a working tamal. She's here in Santa Barbara. And the Ventura Chumash community kind of got left out. So Patagonia reached out to me a couple years ago, did a little article in a magazine about me, made a little video. I am a little bit of a celebrity. If you come and speak to me afterwards, please look at my feet when you speak to me. Do not make direct eye contact and call me Your Highness. I'm just kidding. Not really, no. But like I said, the Ventura community was left out, so Patagonia says, how can we help? I go, help us build 2 tamals. They go, why 2? I go, I'm a tribal member of the Fernandino Chatavian Band of Mission Indians. We are a tribe made up mostly of Chumash and Chatavian people that intermarried. I go, for thousands of years, the Chatavian, who come from Santa Clarita Valley, were the neighbors of the Chumash. I go, help us make that reconnection again. And we'll build one tamal for the Barbareño Ventureño Band of Mission Indians, who are based in Ojai and Ventura. And then the second one that we're going to start in the next week or two will be for the Fernandino Chatavian. So when you were talking about unceded land, what that means is we never signed a treaty. We never sold our land. It was taken from us. My great-great-great-grandfather was part of a land grant that was 4,400 acres, 3 native men from the San Fernando Mission. And that land was quickly taken away from them. They were assessed taxes and fees and taxes and fees and taxes and fees. And the politicians, the Spanish and Mexican politicians, knew they had no money to pay, so they go, we're going to take your land. So when we say unceded, that's what we're talking about. We never signed a treaty. We don't have a reservation. We're federally non-recognized tribes. In order for us to save and revitalize our culture, it takes us a lot more work. Unlike our friends and neighbors to the north of us, the Santa Ynez Chumash, we don't have a reservation. We don't get anything from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. We don't have a casino. In fact, I go there every now and then and make my donation. I probably should just go find a tribal member and go, here's my $100. Here you go. So your support is so important to us. It's so greatly appreciated because we struggle. We're working class people, all volunteers, trying to revitalize our canoe culture, trying to revitalize our maritime culture. In fact, I'll close on this. The picture that's on your program today is a very special picture. That is Eliwayun, the tamal we built in 1997, the first working tamal in modern times. And we used her for a good 10, 12, 15 years. Now she's used very sparingly, but she's still seaworthy. And that's me in the front. So what we do is we just number our paddlers. The paddler in the front is in the number 1 seat, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm not saying I'm the number 1 paddler. I just sit in the number 1 seat a lot. And that particular day was a special day because we were making a crossing from the mainland out to Limu, and it was around 9 a.m., and a small pod of dolphins had came around us as we were making a crew change. So as we're paddling along, we have support boats, and about every 2 to 3 hours, we take the paddlers that have been paddling for 2 to 3 hours, we take them out and we put in fresh paddlers. And I was just getting in, and I was in the number 1 seat. And we thought it was really cool, and we were all excited that this pod of around 20 or 30 dolphins were swimming around us as we're making this crew change. It takes about 5-6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And there was 2 dolphins swimming together. They go out of the water, underwater, come out, just like that, in perfect unison, right next to each other. And we thought, wow, that's really cool. And as we started to paddle, the 2 dolphins came from my right, your left, and went right underneath the tamal, and we could see them go under us. And we thought, oh my God, how cool is that? And we're clanking our paddles, we're all out of rhythm because we're excited. They come up out of the water, up, under, up, and they got right in front of us. And I'm in the front, so I had the best view. And when the 2 dolphins came out of the water, they stopped right there and did this. Looked at us, checked us out, and then went underwater. It's one of the many cool experiences I have had in my lifetime, and a lot of it involves our tamals, our canoes. Fernando Lombrado, our source that we use for drawings and notes and how to build them, dimensions, width versus length, depth, from Fernando Lombrado. And Fernando Lombrado said, the tamal is the house of the sea. And I can tell you from personal experience, what it is for us today is it's still a house of the sea, but it's a magnet. When we build a tamal, when we take our tamals down to the beach, people come, people like you, and we share what we know about our canoes. Our Chumash people come, old, young, and we share stories, songs, what we're doing, who's weaving baskets, who's painting pictures, who's writing books. The tamal is important because it's a reason for us to come together and gather. I cannot thank you enough. I think the closest I can come is next weekend. I'll be at the Santa Ynez powwow. I'll be by their tamal telling stories. And we always do a human sacrifice, so one of you can come. Thank you so much. Blessings to all of you. Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Just to also, I'll give all of you a little more detail. There is a Chumash powwow next weekend, the 4th and the 5th of October. It runs from about 10 to 6 each day, and the public is most welcome to attend. It's up in the Santa Ynez Valley, and I encourage you to go if you have time to do so. I think it's there are dance competitions, food. It's a whole big celebration that will attract many Native people from all over the western part of the country. So we have one more song, and if you would rise, if you are able, it's called "One More Step." It's number 168 in the Gray Hymnal. As we extinguish our chalice, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Now we shall call out a blessing.